he's like, we're all wired to be average. Like to
Mm-hmm.
be beyond average is difficult. It's special. It takes special focus. Very deliberate with your time.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Infinite Abilities Podcast. I am your host, Nick Yerhart, and we are here to encourage each other to find our own unique abilities. Let's go. All right, everyone. So I've been excited to do this podcast. I have Kenneth. I'm going to stutter every time I say his name. But I've been looking forward to this because he has a big background in motocross, and I actually used to race motocross when I was younger. So this is going to be a great episode. So, Kenneth, can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
All right. So I own my own consulting business right now, and I go into distressed manufacturing companies typically to do turnarounds, but I trademark the acronym for LUCK, laboring under complete knowledge. So the name of the company is Luck Unlimited Group Holdings, and it's based off the acronym, but what I'm trying to do is change the definition. So essentially, laboring is doing hard things, under is a state. So it's a state of doing hard things with the clear comprehension of actions that lead to success. And so I think there's I don't know if it's a misnomer or there's a big belief that a lot of people didn't earn their success, that it was just bestowed upon them. So what I wanted to do was put something out there that was changing that story or that narrative so that we kind of started a movement of people really working hard and kind of showcasing that.
Yeah, and if you take the time to look at how people became successful, it's a lot of hard work. It didn't just happen.
Right. And behind me, the screen that I have scrolling is the Luck Unlimited apparel site, and that led to me starting an apparel brand, which has been pretty fun because I market heavily in motocross. I have two daughters that you'll see in the background there too that are pretty active. One actively wants to race motocross, is my youngest daughter, Lexi. And then my oldest daughter, Lily, doesn't really have an interest to race. She's actually at college right now at the University of Michigan, but she's a national anthem singer. So we get to leverage that quite a bit because we've sponsored some really cool athletes along the way. We had Freddie Noren, who is he's really a top 10 guy at times in Supercross. In the Nationals, too, he's been upwards of the top 5. And then we sponsored Shane McElrath. We have Richard Taylor Jr., whose dad started the company X Brand. It's a goggle sunglass company. And so we've had some really cool pros, but then we have a really cool movement of young athletes that wear the brand, like Trevor and Nathan Albrecht. They're the sons of Jeremy Albrecht, who was the team manager for Joe Gibbs Racing. And, we have Gabrielle Stockton and Nicole Eskelson that wear it. Just trying to get people engaged in doing things. You'll see we make football and hockey uniforms, and we kind of did a rebrand, kind of give the Alpena Wildcats, they're a really top amateur hockey or high school hockey team in Michigan, just like a cool, bold look. That's the town we live in, and kind of wanted to give them the feel of like the Oregon Ducks, like really bold, really colorful, like really edgy look. Just really want people to be participants in life rather than spectators in life.
Yep, I'm right there with you. And I like what you're doing, and I would like to talk about your history in motocross.
So, as a racer, I was never really that great. I really started out playing basketball and baseball, and those are the sports I liked. And for some reason, I really gravitated to it when I got into high school. And there was a couple guys locally that were super good. That when I went to my first race, the first guy I noticed was Brian Swing, and I didn't really realize who he was. Went out for practice, my dad, and I've kind of told the story a few times on some different ones, but my dad is like, hey, that kid that's parked next to us is phenomenal. So I go over and talk to him, and he tells me his name, and I realize he's the amateur champion, national champion, and he's amazing on a bike. And so you kind of get a little starstruck, but then I see him ride, and I'm like, oh, the gap between myself and him is astronomical, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, I didn't really understand that he had just put in a ton of time. And I don't know, maybe wasn't smart enough to realize that he was really racing at least 2 days a week competitively. So, and then he would
Wow.
travel to other places out of state, maybe do races during. But he raced and rode, I mean, every single day, and was super
Mm-hmm.
committed to it. And so, I just kind of had this thing when I was younger. I'm like, yeah, he's just way better at motocross than I am, kind of natural. But I really came to learn when I got to know him how much work he put in. And that's what really
Mm-hmm.
made me gravitate to it. It's really a sport that's dedicated on the work you put into it. But because
Yep.
I was in high school and getting ready to graduate, I went into college as engineering, and it was really tough for me because I wasn't a bad student. I just wasn't a great student. And to be good in engineering,
Mm-hmm.
you really need to be a great student. So I kind of
Mm-hmm.
applied what I learned from him to become an engineer. And it just kind of propelled me into some different jobs. I took aggressive jobs because motocross is aggressive, demanding. There's a high risk to it. If you crash on a dirt bike, you risk real serious injury. I mean, there have been
Mm-hmm.
people that have died from it. It
Oh
can
yeah.
be, but I kind of correlate to some things that made me put the same passion from that into my profession. So I kind of
Mm-hmm.
left motocross for maybe about 15 years, and I kind of came back, and I have been riding a lot more now, and it's a little therapeutic.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit now that I know the work I need to put into it, I'm training a lot harder, cycling a lot, like on a bicycle, like
Mm-hmm.
like fairly long rides and stuff like that to build the um, aerobic base. And then I'm riding, like I
Yep.
ride at least 2 days a week. So I just try to
Yep.
get out there and just spin some laps. And so it's a good metaphor for life. So that's
Yep.
really what I like about it.
And let me tell you, uh, riding dirt bike or four wheeler, like it is a freaking workout. Like it works every muscle in your entire body.
It
So,
does. It's no
I,
joke.
I think that's why I've gained a little weight now that I got older. I ride a lot less now, so it's like I don't get my exercise in.
Well, I've also learned too, I've tried to outwork a bad diet for decades. And I've more
Yep, same.
recently been like, okay, this shit's not going to work. Like I
Mm-mm.
need to buckle down. And, I'll tell you the biggest thing that I did probably about 2 months ago, and I'm not fully shredded yet, but I have dropped, quite a bit of fat. I still
Mm-hmm.
lift pretty heavy. My energy though is way more stable by cutting out the refined sugar. Like
Exactly.
if I can, I try to get maybe like a 15-minute nap just because I've kind of been reading some things that say if you can do that, it is
Mm-hmm.
super beneficial for your health.
Mm-hmm.
I don't though typically just because once I kind of get into the day, I typically get up at 5:50. I work out immediately, and that kind of when my day starts. And
Mm-hmm.
so and then it kind of goes till whenever. I mean, really, right now it's 5 o'clock. I probably still have a couple hours of stuff I'll do after I'm done, talking with you.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm just trying to build something really cool. I don't necessarily look at it as inspiring people, but I hope it inspires people. And
Oh, yeah, it does. And, I kind of want to jump back because, when you were talking about motocross and the guy that you knew, he put in a lot of time and he became really good. And that really goes along with, being an entrepreneur or even, having a job. The
right,
more time you put into something, the better you're going to get. And eventually you will become an expert, but it takes time and you can't just make time disappear. Like you gotta put in the reps, just like when you work out. Just keep doing it over and over, and you'll get better. So I like that you talked about that.
I believe that athletics are a great metaphor for life, and kind of saying
Mm-hmm.
that the hockey team that we did the uniforms for, they do have a very dedicated group of young athletes, and I hope when they wear the apparel that we did or the uniforms, and they see the brand, I hope at some point it connects to them that whether they make it to the NHL and become a professional hockey player or not, what they're doing as hockey players or what we do as motocross racers or what we do as football players or, my daughter's figure skating and dancing and that stuff is it all relates to life and the
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurial thing that you're talking about. And the thing that I do as a consultant, and it is why, I mean, the marketing stuff is really fun and I love it. And that's what I'm trying to do a lot more of just because it is so
Mm-hmm.
much. It's so fun. And you can see the value it adds to a brand in a different way than stuff I've been doing for a while. Because I typically go into manufacturing companies where I have 27 years of doing it. And I know it kind of shocks people a little bit when I come in and I'm like, yeah, that's costing you like X millions of dollars of performance. That will increase your sales by X hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tried to condition myself, and it's been hard because growing up, I was a young kid in high school, was super happy with being mediocre. I was just, and Nick Saban said it. He's like, we're all wired to be average. Like to
Mm-hmm.
be beyond average is difficult. It's special. It takes special focus. Very deliberate with your time. Very passionate about what you want out of life. And you think it's cool when you're younger to be the look that like, oh, you're not really trying hard. It's really not that cool to do that. And that's what the message of the brand, whether I do it as a consultant, whether I'm doing it with the apparel brand, is I want people to realize they're in control of their own destiny and the reps and the work are what's going to dictate it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I agree 100%. And you've been doing marketing for a long time. You said, what's a common mistake that you see businesses make?
I mean, honestly, marketing's only been like I'm probably in year 3 of really doing marketing stuff, but
Or you have experience in that industry that you
yeah, well,
help.
more on the
So
manufacturing. But what
yeah.
what I look at, and I think motocross is a great metaphor because it's a sport that people look at and they go, "That looks so cool," right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they see those athletes when they go to a race. They're a lot of times they're like, "I can't believe what those guys do as athletes." Or
Mm-hmm.
if they listen to a podcast with me, they're like, "Motocrossers are gnarly. They have surgeries like teeth cleanings."
Mm-hmm.
That those guys at that level. But what for my perspective is what we're trying to sell is everybody's going through the same process. And those people that got there just put more reps into this point.
Mm-hmm.
But we can all get really great at what we want to do. Now, if everybody's doing it, the 1% group gets a lot more complicated to get in that group, and it becomes a lot more very detailed as to what separates you.
Yeah.
But right now we have there's such a contentness with being really underperforming.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Yeah.
on another podcast and they asked me about like a toxic work environment, and I can see it. It's frustrating for overperformers because so many companies coddle the underperformers and really don't
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge the high performers because they're worried about people leaving that they think contribute a lot, but they're not measuring it, they're not monitoring it, they're not really looking at what they drive in value. And there's a bunch of really good people performing on the team, kind of like, what the hell are we doing here?
Mm-hmm.
And then those guys will peel out, or those people will peel out to another opportunity because they're like, yeah, I'm sick of this. Those people that want to be great, it really sucks to be on a team with people that don't.
Mm-hmm. It
And
does.
we have this just contentness with being mediocre or less than mediocre, and kind of
Mm-hmm.
we're American. And because we're American, we're just better than everybody a little bit. And I think
Yep.
that edge and that perception, and I lived in Mexico for 3 years too, and I've seen firsthand how that culture is maybe misperceived here because they will work their asses off. They are super
Mm-hmm.
committed. They take a ton of pride in the work that they do. And they don't look at jobs that are union jobs here or jobs on the shop floor as these crappy machining or manufacturing jobs. They look at it as it's a tremendous opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And they approach it like that. But you can see it's because it's not normal for them. Not everybody's been able to go do that. So when they come into it, when I was at the company was a large drivetrain manufacturer. We provided shoes, uniforms, busing to work. But you would see the men and women that worked on the floor come to work, shirts pressed, pants pressed, shoes polished, hair gel, clean shaven, or just with the word like detailed, right? Like you're very manicured, right? And the women would be made up, and you could just see the pride. And in my mind, I thought, a lot of people don't see this, and they would be shocked if they did, and they should be a little scared because if it's one-on-one, their mentality is this job is freaking awesome and I'm going to kick ass. And a lot of times here, the thing is this job shit. This is beneath me. I shouldn't be doing it, or I'm pissed off as hell because I didn't chase some dream and now I'm running a machine. But they don't think of it like, whoa, this machine, I make hubs or I make axle tubes or axle shafts or differential housings. Oh, that's a $50 million a year business. Like I'm making hundreds of parts in a shift, if not thousands of parts in a shift. And that scrap that I make fix 1 to 10 things a day on is a percent or two of what I run. And that's a dollar value. And that adds value to a business. And we've diminished it in the US. And I'm not, because those jobs are super important. Like that's what I fight for. I mean, right now I'm working with a company called Ketchel Axle Systems, and I'm fighting like hell to try to put it in northern Michigan, where there aren't these type of jobs, where we have really badass, high speed mills, machining motor housings, gearbox housings, making different helical gears that go inside the cases that drive the axle or powertrain. And they're phenomenal jobs to learn how a business works. And you don't necessarily have to go to college to get the business when you get in the environment if you approach it with the right mentality, though. You kind of take it the motocross mentality and you look at it like, I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to try to run zero bad parts. I'm going to try to be a professional, because if I become a professional, I get the reps and doing this job very effective, I'm going to create opportunity to either move up or someone else is going to want me.
Yep. Well, I think the moral of the story is don't strive to be average, strive to be extraordinary. That's where I get out of that.
Exactly. But it's a mental rewire to yourself, because it's telling
a mindset.
It is. And I love how many people go, do you watch football?
I don't know.
No. You know who Alabama is, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they win championships on top of championships, right? The mentality is, and everybody wants to go play there. Why? You're going to win a championship if you go there.
Yeah, because they're extraordinary. Yeah.
Right. And that's the beauty of it. So, like, I look at the things that are great, and I don't get envious. I get curious now. What are they doing? Because I tried to do that. It's funny. I've had people since the company I was at, we closed it because our customer wanted to make electric vehicles. So it's a little ironic that I'm doing that now. But, sorry. So I kind of lost my train of thought there a little bit. Going back to the excellence and the extraordinary thing, kind of relating to the football paradigm, is we built a company that was making zero defects, shipping zero. We were perfect to the customer. And having that taken away and starting this business up, I get a lot of exposure to that culture within the country and within companies. And it's tough to see it. And you kind of see it everywhere, even from being on a school board to how parents parent their kids, and they go to school boards and they're mad that their kids are doing bad, but then the kids have 0% of their homework turned in and they're not following up on the very fundamentals
Mm-hmm.
of elements of discipline.
Yep.
And we confuse discipline with being mean versus discipline with holding people accountable. And being accountable has become being mean. And so it makes it tough to be extraordinary when you don't have discipline and accountability.
Yeah, and there's a huge lack of discipline and accountability these days. Like, you see it all over. It's like people will say they're going to do something, and they just don't. It's like, come on. And hey, I'm guilty of it too, but it's something that I'm really focused on right now. It's like, all right, whenever I tell myself or anybody else I'm going to do something, I'm going to make damn sure that I get it done.
And
So yeah.
I make mistakes too. I mean, I've had this idea of a really awesome ambassador program for the apparel brand, but since April, I have been so focused in on this electric powertrain, fundraising it, trying to figure out where we can put it, what grants we could leverage to help kick it into a higher gear, that I've kind of drug my feet and haven't properly done it. But I'm trying to do way more than I really should do, because where you aim, you'll get maybe 80% of it. So if you set the bar really low to make easy goals, like I try to really stretch to do the things, because you want to do I want to push myself to do a lot and to make a change. So, and I know that if the one tips, it's going to be a massive financial generator to support the other one.
Exactly. Yep. I talk about that all the time. Like, don't set, average goals or easy goals. Set massive goals. Goals that, like, you can't even believe that you're even thinking about. Just set those big goals, because, like you said, you usually do 80%. You get 80% there. Well, I'd rather get 80% there on a big goal than a little one,
Right.
So that's awesome. And then, before we wrap this up, where can people reach out to you, and what are your websites?
So, luckunlimited.org was set up for the consulting one. I get the most contacts either through, that email, it's kenneth.gembel@luckunlimited.org, but then there's at Luck Unlimited Apparel or luckunlimitedapparel.com website has the contact information. But hitting me through Instagram or Facebook is a real easy one to get a hold of me directly, or my daughters typically help out with that website with those two, because part of it was I want them engaged in the brand and to learn about marketing. And whether this becomes something that is a passion of theirs and they get really integrated in when they get older, or if it's just something they learn how to market and engage in an area that they want to be very proficient at in the future, that becomes a springboard. And
that's awesome. Well, everyone listening, you know how to reach out to him. I would definitely go check out his apparel website. I checked out the other day. A ton of good stuff on there. Looks super awesome. So, yeah. And then I gotta ask you. So, my slogan is, your abilities are infinite. What does that mean to you?
One, I agree with that. And I've done a lot of very cool things that I never thought. So, one, I never thought I'd be an engineer to start with in high school. I wasn't a terrible student. I was into like dirt bikes and girls, right? I was a typical young guy. By the time I graduated, those were two things that I was really into. And then I became an engineer, and I got inspired. I worked for a guy named Richard E. Dowk, who was a fantastic leader, right? And then then it hit me. I was like, no kidding. Like, this guy was just a farmer. Now if he's not a billionaire, he was really close to it. right? He bought 5 GM facilities, and he turned them into one of the best driveline companies in the world. And then working there, like his philosophy to getting stuff better, like I mean, compounding it, like I've never really calculated all the improvements I did, but it's probably close to $1 billion of improvements. I mean, just in the last year at a chemical company, we made $150 million of productivity improvements.
Wow,
Right.
that's
In 1 year,
incredible.
right? Just by how we scheduled, how we looked at how they use the assets. So, that thing, like I never thought I was going to be there. I never thought I'd have a PhD in engineering. I just never wanted to stop learning. And, honestly now, I mean, there's people that are faster than me, but I'm riding faster on a dirt bike than I ever have. I'm jumping stuff that I wouldn't have jumped probably 15 years ago. Like I'm just getting more comfortable because I'm more fit. I put way more time in, way more passionate about it. And it's not even that much time. I just do it every single week. I'm riding twice a week. And whether I go do one moto for 20 minutes or if I can be out there for 3 hours and do 4 motos or, clean my bike up and get back home, because I try to be very deliberate when I go do it that I can come home and it's ready to go the next time pretty much. I might do a couple things in the garage when I get here. And so I think when you talk about the extraordinary that you're talking about, I think it's all in us, but do you know what 86,400 represents?
Yeah, that is, how much you need to make a month to hit $1 million a year. Is that right?
No, it's that's how many seconds are in a day.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So
it's
we have
on
a
one of the
shirt.
signs in my house. Couldn't remember which one.
Well, there's 86,400 seconds in a day, and what the difference is between me and someone more successful and people that haven't been to where I've been is how we use those seconds. So whether you're going to the NHL for a draft, whether you're building an awesome business, everybody has 86,400 seconds, and how you use those seconds is going to define and dictate where you go.
Exactly. I agree. All right. Well, this has been really great. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on. Nice talking to you, Nick.
If you enjoyed this show, please go ahead and share it on your Instagram story and tag me here, the Nick Yerhart. Also, go ahead and share it anywhere else that you see fit, because the only way that I can grow this is by you guys sharing it. I don't sell anything on here. I don't have any sponsors, so let's just get it out there by word of mouth and help more people. Alright, everyone, remember, your abilities are infinite.